Glad to have you join us on this segment of Engendered on KAFTAN Television. And if you're just joining us, you're right on time because the show is just about to begin. And today is not an exception to the fact that we discuss issues that affect the female gender. We talk about how winning, the positive and negative side that affect the female gender. And today we're going to be having an important aspect of this discussion, which is the financial aspect. Money is very important. Ego dimpa. That is the meaning in Igbo. So money is, I think Yoruba is owo ni koko. Outside was kudi was. So all I know is that money is really important, and for the female gender, for you to be stable, for you to have your, to be able to have a say in relationship, in marriage, in a lot of spheres you find yourself, you need money, and you have to understand how you run this thing. So we're going to be discussing women in business today with the National Coordinator, Association of Nigerian Women Business Network, Ajala. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Nice to have you.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
You look so good. Okay, so we're talking about women in business. So from your own perspective, why do we discuss women in business? Like, why is it important to talk about women in business?
Well, it's important because even if you look at the financial gap, women are most affected. It's easier for a man to get a loan than for a woman to get a loan. And yet, research has shown that the women pay back better than the men. And so many times, the women have a lot of issues they are contending with, especially collateral. Because in many cases, many homes, the house is either built in the name of the husband or it's a joint something. And the traditional form of credit in Nigeria, when they tell you to collateralize, they want to see a C of O. And so many times women don't even have access to such. And so that already limits them. During the recently COVID pandemic that we went through, research showed that women were more impacted, their businesses were more impacted than men, because they contend with so many other things. And many times you see women, they have to work double hard to prove themselves than their men counterparts. So it's important to look at this topic in the light of women and to see what are the emerging solutions we can begin to proffer and how can we begin to let women get into the scale of things in business in Nigeria. Just like we have the multinationals that are being led by men, can we begin to get women into that space as many as we have the men also? So it's a very important conversation. Okay,
no doubt women are actually doing, when it comes to business, you find majorly the women in the field, especially when it comes to entrepreneurs, you see the women there. But do they really impact the society? Because I know women are financiers of their homes, but does it extend even to the society?
Yes, it does. So I'll take it from your last sentence. If women are financiers in their homes, which means a woman would rather go hungry than see the child not go to school. So if a woman ensures that all the children are in school and they get educated, that's a major impact on the society, the fallout. Because which means you've taken out criminals from the streets, you've given young ones an education, you've given them a chance to succeed in life. And you know, right now, Nigeria is battling with over 15 million out of school children. So you can imagine if they were in homes where the mothers have taken charge and they can support what their men are doing, there will be no child out of school. So it's important that we look at that and their contribution. Again, I look at small and medium businesses in Nigeria. The small and medium businesses for any country, it is the economic engine growth of any country. Women are in that space, contributing and making sure that the country is moving as it should move because of the various businesses they are doing. If we should take a data and see what women are doing in even informal sectors, like even trading, farming in the market, in the farms, selling little things in the market, let's shut the market for a day or two. Let all the markets where women are selling, let's say women don't go to market for 2-3 days. Let everybody shut down. Come back and ask what is the impact on society. You will see the impact. So their impact is huge.
Okay, now, so despite the sensitization that's been going on about the things women should know about in business, we find out that there's still some people that are still novice in this particular aspect. You see the women do petty trade, sell foodstuff and stuff like that in the market, but it's difficult to see women in high positions, like having the multinationals. It's more of the men occupying that sector. What do you think we can do to actually achieve a balance within the female and male gender in that particular perspective?
Well, what we can begin to do, one, is capacity building. You can't give what you don't have. So we must start with first building the capacities of women to be able to sit at the board table, to be able to take decisions that affect the businesses that affect their lives. Because, you know, there's a saying that goes that if you are not at the table, then you are the menu. It is you they are eating and discussing if you are not at the table. So how do we get more women at the table so that when decisions are being taken concerning them, there's a voice, there's somebody speaking? Right now, there are no voices for the women. Even look at the just concluded elections, where we used to have maybe close to 10 women in the National Assembly. It is dropped to less than half now. Where we used to have how many in the House of Rep? It's taking us back again. We're even worse off than the current dispensation that is rounding up. So you can imagine if they want to take a trade policy decision that maybe with the African free continental free trade area they're talking about, and we're talking about regional trade even in Africa, and they want to take a policy. Who is going to speak for the women on issues of gender? Their voices are, they're not many. So let's get to the table so that we can begin to advocate and speak for the issues that concern women. That is the first thing we need to do.
Okay, now, but some people of the school of thought that it's not like there are not women in some of these positions, but that the quality of women in that place is not good compared to the quality of men in that particular space. So what do you think about that?
I think women, as men, just as you have that for women, you also have for men. If you look at the men, not many are qualified to be where they are. They shouldn't even be speaking. I'm being honest with you. But because they're in the majority, it just goes without gainsaying that if one should say something, whether it makes sense or not, whether it can transmit to something impactful for the society, the rest will agree with it because it's a male thing. So when a woman does that in the same circumstances and there are no voices to back her up, it now looks as if the woman has not said anything, hasn't done anything and all that. What I can assure you is both ways. And as many women that are in such positions, they are very qualified because women already know that there's a need to prove themselves double over for the men. So if the men are good in something, the women must be twice as good to make sure that their voices can be amplified and loud enough to do it. So in various spheres of the economy of the country, in the judiciary, in the legislative, where all the women are, check out all the women in those positions. They are worth their salt and they are contributing, but it's like we should have triple of that number to let it show. It's not showing because the numbers are not there.
Okay, maybe women are often not taken seriously, especially in a society where men are dominant in business. When a woman brings a contract or a quotation of maybe a contract and a man brings the same, there's every tendency that that man will be choosing over the woman. So what should be done in order to take women seriously when it comes to business?
One, let women be very qualified for anything they're doing. Let's enter on the basis of merit, not on the basis of I am a woman. Okay. Because that makes it like a tokenism. That is a token thing, that is a woman, give her a chance. No, don't give me a chance because I'm a woman. Give me a chance because you can see that I have the worth, the value to deliver, and I'm worth it. So I take the issue of applying for contracts, for example. Now, when you apply in the public sector, you have a long list of things that you need to qualify for. You know, there's a checklist that is very intimidating, which many women don't have. They need to put together. And I'm aware that the UN Women in Nigeria has like an academy training women on public procurement. So if you want to go into that sector, go and get trained and know how to compete and how to apply for contracts that will be winnable. Now, if that happens and we have a lot of women trained in that space and they apply, then we can make noise, even with UN Women, And we can say, oh, the government has asked that there should be a bid, a tender bid for the construction of a new road leading to another part of the airport, and we want to see all the companies that are tender. We can say, look, 10 women have tendered for that contract, and these are their qualifications openly. You know, so when you advocate with the power of merit backing you up and you make noise, they won't have a choice. You know, so you see interventions like what the UN Women has done, making sure there's a training on public procurement. So you have no reason or no just cause to say, I don't know how to apply you. I don't, except you don't want to build yourself up. And that's why I say capacity building is important.
Okay, now let's look at it from this perspective. Someone asked a question once and he said that for the women, can they be able to manage their home and business, more or less like entrepreneurship? Would it be able to suffice for the female gender?
Yes, I know there's been a lot of talk around the work-life balance. And the work-life balance talk is always being said in African context because the men do nothing. They stretch their legs at home. They expect to be served. They don't go into the kitchens like a taboo. If a man should go into the kitchens, like, what are you looking for there and all that? And so that's why we're looking at the work-life balance. But yes, the woman, you know, in the early years when the woman is rearing and raising up her children, you know, maybe she's working from home, she's doing jobs that enables her to be able to have the children grounded in life, have a good start and all that. But there comes a time when the career opens up to her, when her business opens up to her, and the children are well established, they are stabilized enough for her to be able to go all out. Everything is balanced in life. Everything is balanced, and it can be balanced. So which means as long as you can run your home well, there's food when there should be food, the house is clean when it should be clean, the children are well comported and attend school when they should attend school, there's also time to do business when it is time to do business. So it's a question of balance, which we can do, because our support system in African homes is very great. You either have a mother, an auntie, a housekeeper that is also supporting you. So you can balance yourself easily. So that's not a problem.
Okay, now because it is said that the woman is the home builder. Yeah. So sometimes it is difficult for her, even when she has this idea of a business, she wants to do business, and she finds it difficult to perhaps extend her business outside her home, where it becomes perhaps a multinational business, where we see men excelling in their businesses. It becomes a conglomerate. But women, we hardly see them in that field. What do you think it's not been done right?
For those that are married, some of the men are afraid for their women to get bigger than they are. So they don't support. I'll be honest on that. So they don't give their women wings to fly. They are not confident enough to handle the success of their women. And so they try to stifle at times. And so the women will rather let me do the little I'm doing within my home than if I need to go outside and the man does not allow me and eventually kills the entire thing. Let me manage. That happens. Again, for a woman to scale, you know, many times, like I said, the access to capital has been a major thing. So number one, nobody is speaking for us at the various tables where we should be spoken for, where decisions are being taken. None is pushing those decisions. Number two, access to capital is difficult. So I'm running a small business. I need 20 million to just scale it up. Give me 20 million, I can pay back in 2 years, and that business will turn into a conglomerate. Who is going to give me without a collateral? The collateral is a house. I don't have a house. I don't have my name to any house. And so I remain where I am. And the business that will scale up in 2-3 years will now scale up in 20 years. Because I now have to gradually be building up the capital, get big a bit this year, next year again, get bigger next. You know, I can't go beyond what my income can afford me to do beyond. So those challenges are there. And I'm aware that recently there was a collateral register that was registered that, okay, let's don't look at houses alone. Can we begin to look at, if you have jewelry, it can be collateral. If you have, so there's a register now that has been set up, I think by CBN. So there's a collateral register where you can put down the things you have that can serve as collateral that can now help you. If banks or financial institutions are taking them, I do not know. Nobody has shared that experience with us, because any new thing in Nigeria takes time to take effect for them to see how it will go.
Okay, so, now you made mention, sorry Chidinma, you made mention of jewelries as collateral. Wouldn't it be saying that the choice of lifestyle for women, often wanting to have a luxurious lifestyle, buying jewelries instead of buying lands, or buying perhaps clothing instead of getting some assets, could be the reason why they are not even taken seriously in the business world?
Well, you see, jewelry can be an asset for many. Jewelry can be an asset because it's like, because the context of the life we live as Nigerians, not every woman can say for a certainty that in this home where I am married to this man, I can remain in that home next year. Anything can happen. And so many times women take an insurance on their future by getting those things. I said, at least if anything should happen, I have jewelry I can dispose of for me to start life again. It's easier for them to acquire things like jewelry than for them to acquire land and house, which the man would see like a direct competition. So I have a house, you want to have a house. You know, those kind of a thing. Meanwhile, your jewelry can be more in value than even the house, depending on how. So these things, you know, it's a balance for women, and they just keep juggling the balance to see if we have 50% of our men supporting the dreams of their women and backing it up. And when I say backing up, not just emotional backing and mental backing, financial backing to allow them to fly. You'll be amazed at the businesses that we just straddle this nation. You'll be amazed.
Okay, then what do you think? Sorry, Chidinma.
Mindset.
Yeah, what do you think is the problem? Because in those days, we often see, perhaps maybe I didn't see, I heard that our fathers would go to the farm and leave the business for the women. Like they send the women to the market, they sell the goods, the products they bring from the farm. From the farm, and they did well. What do you think is the issue, especially when it comes to men in this dispensation, that they would rather not allow their women do any form of business just to be a trophy wife?
I'm beginning to think the issue of trophy wife is getting outdated with the rate of inflation in the country. Everybody needs to bring something to the table, and you know, the generation of our fathers, their thinking, their mindset orientation, the cultural context within which they existed is different from the generation of men now. They are thinking, the men of today, their thinking is different. But my pastor will say, adversity will change your mentality. You understand? So as things are getting more difficult, as inflation is rising, a lot of men are beginning to like, I can give you small money to start small trade, you know. In fact, I'm aware that I've heard younger couples say they split the expenses in the house. So if the wife is in charge of the lunch the children take to school, she's in charge of water, light, the man is in charge of rent, is in charge of school fees, maybe they split it.
But some women don't want that. Some women
like Chidinma.
They split it.
Some women don't want that. They're not of the opinion that we should split the bills.
They want the man to take everything and
yeah,
do.
some people are like that.
For
like,
those that can afford it, yes.
Okay.
For those that can afford it, yes. But you
I
know,
guess she might keep herself. Actually,
we have to get one trillionaire for Chidinma separately. We get a trillionaire.
I don't know why
that will allow you to live that life of comfort.
No, because I've had this discussion with several people. Okay, I was talking to a guy. And he said, if I go out with a girl, we share the bills. And I'm like, why are we sharing the bills?
No, that is different. But you know, a marriage is a commitment. It's a lifetime commitment. And so if you have an idea what the man's strength is financially, it's not a sign of weakness that you share and you take some part to support. It gives you a in fact, in financial, I'm doing a financial literacy training recently. I've not even concluded it. It's been organized by GIZ, and they organize it for women. And one of the things they spoke about in budgeting, they say, do not budget alone. You must budget as a family, which means the woman will come and say, these are my needs. These are the things I will need. The man will say his own. They will look at the children's own. So they will look at the needs and look at the aggregated income coming in to see if it can meet those needs. After they have done that, before they can begin to look at their wants. So these are the needs. You know, needs is survival. Want is if I, you know, that kind of a thing. Then, so if that conversation is not happening, the man does not even know what the woman needs. So you give me 20,000 to go to the market. Have you been to the market recently? You understand?
I have.
So they need. In fact, they even suggest that at times let the man escort you to the market and see and hear. So that understanding must happen as a family, for money issues not to be a problem, to avoid tension, to avoid pressure. The conversation around monies must be had. It cannot be one person just thinking this is what you need and so go ahead and manage it. Those conversations are important, even because these are the things that ache the hearts of women, and they are there struggling with what they have and just managing and wondering, can this man see? We must begin to let our men know that let's have those conversations so that it can guide what you support the woman with every month. So that when you know that when you give 20,000, that woman is spending 100, you haven't done nothing. If you don't have, it is a different thing. What do we scale out of those needs? What are the things we can remove and know that next time we can look at them? And that's why the conversations are important.
Should a woman even marry a man who does not have?
The man can have, and then in the course of life, life happens.
Yeah,
do you do? Life happens.
Yeah, it happens.
Life happens.
You know, like, okay, just I was reading a story today and someone said that he remembers the time when his daddy used to have a lot of money, and at some point when he noticed that there's no longer egg in the moi moi, there's problem in the house, that kind of stuff. So it happens that it's possible that a family can, like, before my dad passed on, he was like, he said, if I had not built this house when I built it, I don't know what will happen right now.
Exactly.
Sometimes you might still be doing the same business and having money, but the rate of inflation is never like purchase anything. You can't do it. So life happens like that. But when it comes to the your question of should you marry someone that does not have money, you will come for after counseling. We'll talk about it.
Oh my God.
Okay, now let's look at this. Now we know that there are some industries that women are underrepresented, and why do you think it's like that? You know, sometimes when people come out and be like, there's a female mechanic that came out. Some people were applauding her, some people were insulting her. Out of everything, a mechanic, you go choose that kind of thing. So there are some industries. Let's leave the mechanic aspect now. Let's talk about engineers. Let's talk about architects. Sometimes there are some positions or there's a level you will get to, and you feel like a woman should not be here. When you hear that, sometimes when people hear that a woman is a professor and they're like, really a woman, they're supposed to see a man. So why do you think that in some particular industries we have this underrepresentation of women, and how can we balance this?
I'll take the sciences, engineering, like you have said.
Okay.
You know, there's always been that mindset that science is tough. And there's always that perception that men are the tough ones. So because science is tough and men are the tough ones, science is meant for the men, let the men go for it. And so women have that fear, even from secondary school, you know, and all that. But perception, people are changing the perception. Now with all kinds of STEM organizations, in fact, there are specific organizations that are doing STEM for girls to make sure that our focus is to get as many girls as possible in the sciences so that they can break grounds in the engineering fields, in the medical fields. And you know, we don't celebrate enough of our women in those sectors. So at times we think women are not there. I know recently in the US, they even celebrated some women that had, either it was to do with the satellite or with something, the woman that made it possible for NASA to do something. And nobody knew that it was even a woman because they were behind the scenes and they are not used to blowing their trumpets and all that. And that's why we now tell women, look, let's begin to blow our trumpets. Let's begin to see how in those spaces where there are gaps where we're not well represented, what do we need to be represented there? How do we make it easy for women to get into those fields that are difficult to get into? And a lot of not-for-profit associations and a lot of other organizations, they are being deliberate now about this inclusion of women in all those things so that it gets easier. Because there's a kind of balance and understanding that a woman brings to any industry. Men don't have it because naturally we are nurturers. We give birth. And so our emotions and our psychological makeup is different. It's engineered towards success. We know how to balance and multitask. We're very intuitive. We're very discerning. We can see things ahead that men do not see. So our success rate is higher in almost every field. It's just to make sure we get as many women into those spaces and break those barriers. A lot of them also are cultural context. You know, that is how it's been for years. So what has been like that for years, things are changing. And so we need to begin to change that narrative. And it is changing. It is changing.
Okay, women are mostly perceived as timid because when you see a woman, you expect she's a weak person, right? And then fear could be another reason why a woman wouldn't embark into business. But in business, we understand that there are risks attached to it. Do you think a woman has what it takes to perhaps do business the way a man would do?
Yes, a woman does, because as a woman, you already have the certain characteristics that the man does not have. You know, when you see a risk, you can almost know where that risk is going. You know, and then your sense of responsibility and seriousness and your sense of understanding is deeper. Because, you know, we are dealing with a lot of things. We're dealing with children, we're dealing with people, there's so many things that are inbuilt in us as a woman that we already have those gifts built in us. But what we're now telling women is, get into an association that you are able to pick values that will make you to scale higher. Learn how to network in the right places, because you cannot go far as an individual. And many times we like doing things in silos, but we're now saying collaboration is the new competition. If one woman can achieve something with 2 million, if 10 of us will come together, that would be like 200 million, which means, would you rather have the part of a dead elephant, or would you even rather have the toe of a living dog? So we need to begin to change the mindset of women that you can go further than where you are if you collaborate, if you make it happen for others, if you network properly, if you have the right support system. So my dream, for example, if I say I want to begin to export to the US, maybe some processed African foods that are scarce over there, and I decide that I want to go that dream alone, what I will go through, even NAFDAC registration alone, is enough to hit me. Trademark and all that. But imagine if we are 50 of us and we want to come together, we will reduce our shipping costs. Freight will reduce for us. NAFDAC will reduce for us. We'll come together as a group. We're able to negotiate, even processing. The factories we will process. If one person is going to process and 50 are going to process, the costs are reduced. And so with that, it will scale up our businesses, it will scale up our revenues, and we're able to do more. So we need to just promote this doctrine of let's collaborate to do more. Let's make it happen. You know, I'll share with you, recently we had a virtual advocacy conversation, and we called women to look at the political scene and look at the elections that just took place. We called people that won, and we called people that lost. And then we called experienced political, you know, women that they've gone through it, they've seen it all. And we asked them, why did you lose? Then why did you win? What should we be doing? 2027 is round the corner. So let us start now and come together. And you know, we now, you know, later, and they share their experiences. And you know, one of them said, women didn't support her, and all that. Another said, women supported her, you know, different perspective and different whatever. But we looked at it and we imagined that if they were men have godfathers. So we need to even begin to get godmothers for our female politicians that are aspiring to go high. We need to be able to profile those that want to serve us and say they want to come out. You must tell us what you have to offer. Do your pitch. What do you have to offer? Don't go and disgrace women. We must see your antecedents. What have you done in the community where you belong to that we can say, you have done this little, and so with a little encouragement you can do more. What has happened? So there's no structure, there's no strategy around that. So we have decided that we're going to put a strategy around that to support women towards 2027. Say start now. And we're going to be working with the relevant partners like National Democratic Institute, IRI and co, to say let's begin to train the women on the art of lobbying, on the art of negotiation, on the art of meeting people, on the art of community work, on the art of campaigning and all that, because nobody is trained in it. Men will go out with the brashness to do it. Women will be afraid of the violence. Then they don't have the money. Then they will be afraid of public ridicule. Because, you know, once you come out for politics, your entire life is in the open, which means they can investigate you and say any lie about you. And say, have you forgotten that woman? She's had 4 husbands, so is she the one you want to bring here? You know, anything to bring you down. So you must be ready.
But why should such contests be an issue? After all, we have men who got married to minors and even 10 wives, or
and even practice polygamy, and
it's not an issue.
It's in our context, yes, it's not an issue. For women, it to be an issue. You're a woman, so there are certain expectations.
Keep your home, you can't take care.
Yes, there are certain expectations, unfortunately.
Okay, now
sorry, Victoria, I think we have to go on a short break. We'll continue on this discussion when we come back. Okay, viewers, we're going on a short break now, and when we return, Engendered continues. We'll be right back.
Well, welcome back. If you're just joining us, it's still Engendered, and we'll be discussing a very, very vital topic for people like Chidinma. It's very, very vital because it deals with money, and which is women in business. And our guest is doing justice to this topic. Now, ma, let's come back to home. Talking about balance, how can women balance business with family, especially when it comes with children? I remember when my mom started when my mom started a provision store, we ate it.
I can imagine.
Not just the children. I could remember my father would say, even when she went to, perhaps she started boutique, my dad would collect
on credit.
On credit, and never returns. So how can women, when they want to, especially if they are going to, they expect to grow in business, how can they balance family and business?
Support system is very important. You know, if you don't have anybody, for example, even helping you, you have 3 little kids at home. You are the one that will look after those 3 little kids, cook, go to the shop, go to the market, pick them in school. It's a lot. There is no way you can grow in business because you are contending with a lot of things. So it's either you give yourself a 10-year break and say, I'm going to use these 10 years to raise my children. The moment the last one is in secondary school, I'm good, which means they are old enough to speak if anything should happen to them. They are old enough to be in the boarding house, and then I can begin to pursue my business. Or you will have a good support system that will help you so that you can focus on your businesses and other things, and they work. And you balance it in such a way that in the evenings you are home with the children. You are telling stories with them, you are looking at their homework, you are finding out how their day went, you are putting them to bed. So that balance is there. You are not there 24 hours for them. There's a time when it is the housekeeper that will probably maybe bathe them and help you take them to school. They come back, it is you they meet. So there will be a balance that you put in place. But talking about your mom's provision that you people...
I know it's not just about many people.
Yeah, true.
You know, it takes discipline to run a small thing like a provision shop. Because it is in volume that you make your profits. And I remember I used to have a friend that used to have a provision shop. And when I go and visit her, she said, you are here, let's eat bread and egg. And she just opened what sardine to fry egg. So I said, have you paid for it? She said, no, I came from the shop. It's my own. So I said, that could probably be your only profit. Because that is how provision is. It's little profit, but it is volumes that will make it. You know, and that's why I wonder at people like, you know, stores like Sahad today. That started small, and it takes complete, you won't, even if you are stabbed, you won't touch it. And I remember when we wanted to give out some grants to some women to help them, and we asked, what will you do with this money if we give you? For everyone that said provision, we didn't. We said you have to find another thing, because we knew that there's no way you can look at your children in the eyes being hungry, and you say you are doing provision shop. So what should happen? They should starve. You can't, that discipline does not take into that life like that. They will eat it, and that is how that thing will come down, except you are whatever. So we tell people, if you have little ones still growing, if you are not disciplined enough, don't touch it. So there are certain businesses that you can do. You can even learn a new skill to do a new business that is not going to ruin you and ruin your family, rather than all those food ones that will affect you. So discipline is important. Financial literacy is important. It's important to know that I took 10,000 to the market today. I bought, these are the following things I bought. The only profit I'm going to make on it is 2,000. And so when you've made your 2,000, you keep it apart, you take that profit, the capital again. You know, there has to be a financial literacy training that teaches everybody how to manage finances. If you do not have financial literacy training or financial discipline, it's difficult for you to understand things in business. You can't read a profit and loss account. You can't check you can't look at a balance sheet. You don't understand how the asset of a company should be. You don't, if we ask you now that at the end of this month, what do you think your profit will be? You have no idea. You can't project because you don't know what you have spent, you know. So those simple things is important. And that's why I'm grateful that GIZ is doing that training right now for quite a number of women. And for those of us that are doing that training, the plan is that once you do that training, go and train at least 5,000 women. Be it women, be it young ones, be it disabled. Make sure you cascade it down. So you can imagine as many people that will be trained in that area. It will change their mindset. it will help them be more aligned and more focused, and their businesses will get better. So I'm trusting that capacity building will also help us there.
Okay, now let's look at another perspective that tends to deal with the cultural aspect. Now we have women that literally, you know, when they say you start up with your husband and build a family and a life, and maybe all of a sudden something happens to the man, is nowhere to be found. And the next thing that comes in is either the family members come to collect whatever two of you have worked for in the name of it's our brother's property and stuff like that.
A lot.
So now some women don't know how to protect themselves to prevent that. Some people, no matter the protection, the cultural perspective still overplays the protection that they put on guard for themselves. So how do women deal with this particular case and fight it?
Honestly, it depends on a case-by-case basis. I know of men that while they are alive, because they know the family and the culture they are from, when they buy anything, it's in the woman's name or in the child's name. It's clear from the beginning. Because they know that if anything should happen, it is this woman that will look after this family. And they know what their family can do.
A lot of people that know, but they feel like, no, some people know
so
that
some do that.
It's my wife, but then they will feel like my family, they love my children too much for them to even do that kind of thing.
No, I think there's, well, I know there's still cases like that, because we've also seen cases of women too that have been entrusted with so much, and with irresponsibility they've not handled it well. So yeah, so it's a catch 2020 situation, because many times the women are never protected. You have to find a way of protecting yourself.
Right?
You have to. If you can't get the man to buy anything in your name, if you can't build up your own capital and have assets that can help you in the future, not anything hidden from the man. We're not saying keep secrets from your husband. Clear businesses that are open, that they know that this is yours and all that. So that when the inevitable happens, and at times it could be the woman too that the inevitable will happen to, and it will be the man that is left. I know in many cases, men can't stay as long as women. You know, a woman becomes a widow now, she can decide never again if she's had all her children and just know that it's just the kids I'm going to focus on. Men at times can't cope.
Most times.
And they have to bring in another woman. If you are lucky and it's a good woman, fine. If you are not lucky, the children will go through that rough patch, but eventually come out of it. You know, so these things, it's in the hands of the woman. Protect yourself.
What are people? I know some women that have told their husband to write wills before they die, and they feel like,
you know, we don't like writing will.
Are you planning to kill me?
We don't. You know, we don't like. In fact, when you mention will, it's as if what's the plan?
There's some you will not eat the man will not eat the wife's food again, because
the moment you are old enough and you have your own business, you must have your will in place. It's not. It's a part of life. It's part of your estate. It's part of organization of your business. It's got nothing to do with life or death. It's just making sure that your estate is organized. That is what it is. Again, mindset. You mentioned will is death. You know, and meanwhile, the man won't die for that 20, 30 years. So it's got nothing to do with death. But it's just the fact that, you know, there's a current case going on. The man died. We're not even sure if he left a will. And the woman had left the house. You know, the woman had left, but they were not divorced.
Okay.
You know, so it's like, so when the woman came back now and said, we're not divorced, so I should still have access. I'm still the owner of everything. So the family is like, truly they were not divorced, even though they had separated. So the prayer is just that, God, may this man have a will. If he doesn't have a will, she's the legal wife. So the only thing you can do is to contend it in court. So for now, for every woman, my advice is, this is the time to have something of your own to help you, or in the names of your children or anything. It's not being foolish. It's not being presumptuous. It's just the reality of what our country and the nature of our men, what it is, and why it's important for you to do that. That's why.
Okay, now let's talk about unhealthy competitions. We understand that in businesses, competitions cannot be avoided. But most times we see women fighting themselves. If you go to the market, my customer. There's this form of like unhealthy competition. Could it be a reason why women do not really grow? And should competitions be perhaps, and should it be taught to women how to compete in a healthy manner?
Business is war. Clear. business is not, you are not on the
But we see men
playground.
sell the same thing on the same street. We don't fight for the customers. But women would literally fight for a customer.
That's how we are. We are women.
Or maybe, for example, Victoria comes to buy from me today, tomorrow, and I see
You
her
won't greet her.
elsewhere. I pick offense, like, so you've left me and gone to the other place.
Other person.
People do that a lot.
They do that. Men have their own. Maybe they just
it's
use
women.
the refined. Did
not
you see
women.
the recent business war between Otedola and Illumelu?
It's actually not a war. It's just a they're having a conversation. When I saw it was a conversation.
So what are we having if you take my... It's conversation. It's just that I'm raising my voice.
No, they're winning their
It's
rappers.
conversation.
They're winning their rappers.
The way we converse different.
You know, this particular thing you just said reminds me of something my mom does at home. My mom prefers going out, buys everything in bulk and brings it home, because the day we start buying from people on the streets, especially women, if I buy tomato from you today and I don't, tomorrow I feel like your tomato is not looking fresh, I should go to Victoria's Tomato. You pick offense.
Yes.
And you don't greet me anymore and feel like it's a problem. But you're selling tomato. One person was there before the other person.
Yes.
You should understand that people can decide to buy from anybody.
Of course.
That particular, you can become that woman's prayer point.
I agree.
Exactly.
I agree. We have that. I think it's part of our makeup as women. That is how we are as women. We're so overly sensitive, so we get easily we're easily angry when things like that happen, because it's survival for them.
Well, shouldn't it be
It's
worked
survival.
on?
It should be. I agree. I agree. Mindset should be worked on. That look, this is business. That I buy from you today does not mean I buy for you tomorrow. In fact, you should collaborate so that when you don't even have and that person has, or that it's like the Igbo person now. When you go to buy something in their shop, they don't have. They'll say, "Make we go check our shop there."
Exactly.
It's not
It's
there.
not the men that do it.
Yes,
The
they will
women
say
not do it.
it's not their own, but that their brother sells is not a problem.
Exactly.
It is not a problem. The thing is that you will still sell, because the brother might probably give a small commission.
Exactly.
Thank you. So it's a win-win
Yeah.
for everybody. So which is where we need to take our women to, that this thing can be win-win, and all that. So that if you say, oh, you don't want my tomatoes today, okay, do you want Mama Nkechi's own? So tomorrow when you're the Mama Nkechi can also recommend something of your own that is good. So we can get there.
I'm waiting for that time.
Don't be so pessimistic.
Okay, now
It's
you've
possible.
spoken about education still, business education. I remember then in school, I hated business. Not because I cannot go into the field of business and prosper, but when it comes to accounting, you spoke about assets management plus one and the rest of it,
Balancing your
mathematics. We hated it. So, and it could be the reason why many women do not really know what they're doing, like you said, in the field.
Yeah.
So how do we make women understand, how do we put in the need for education in business?
Like I said, we're currently undergoing this project with GIZ, and they are training us so that we that are going to train on the field first be trained, so that you know what it is. And if you see the modules, if we're able to succeed with this and we're able to train at least 1 million women, it will cascade down, because this is part of what we're training them. This financial literacy matter, including budget, including planning, including their needs, their wants, holding their homes, their businesses, the services they provide, including the records they should keep, record keeping, the documentation of it, how they are able to use it to make informed decisions and all that. So it is capacity building that will make it happen. You need to convince the women that if you do it in this manner, it will give you a higher return, and it is a better way than the way you are doing it.
Okay, now
It will happen.
Okay, now let's look at the people. Let's talk about, like what we said, women supporting women. People that have gotten to high positions. You hear people say things like, it's easier for me to meet a man or talk to a man about certain things than approach a woman about it. Now, there are people that have attained this level of business. They've already climbed their ladder, they are upstairs, they are up there. So, and someone that is just about coming up is trying to approach them for them to be able to put them through, in that particular aspect. And the feedback they get is not positive. Maybe some people feel like they're scared that maybe you might take over from me, or you might take from what I already have. So how do we do that, balance it where a woman can support her fellow woman without having a problem? Some of them will tell you, if you don't come to me, I won't come to you. they say things like, but even when you go and meet them, there's still a stumbling block. They're not open with you. I can go to a male gender now and tell the person, for example, let's talk about our career, our line of duty in journalism. We know how we do to get contacts. If it's a male gender you approach and said, I need to talk to so and so person, or maybe you go to an office to submit a letter and it's a male that's attending to you, we don't have a problem. But you see, when it is a female gender there, the kind of inquiry they will ask you some particular questions, even when you exactly. And when you finally meet the person there, and you're really like, why was it so difficult to get to this person in the first place?
That there was no need for it.
So, and we keep talking about women, we're supporting each other, we're helping each other, but these little things, how can we change this narrative that when other people are coming up, because so many women are running away from women that I prefer the male gender, they're easy to talk to.
It really extends, just to add to what she says, it extends to business. When a woman is doing business and there's a man by her side, they will prefer to buy from the man because they feel like the woman will put so much profits. The woman will put so much profit in her own, and the manner in which she might want to attend to her customer might be different from the way the man would in the first place.
Okay, you know, so like for example, I'm at this interview. Kenneth invited me and said, oh, with Chidinma we want to. I don't know Chidinma. If Chidinma had first approached me, I would hesitate because I want to do my due diligence. Because it was somebody known to me that came to me, I did not hesitate. I did not do due diligence because I trusted that person. So what we're now beginning to do is the coalition where I had the Association of Nigerian Women Business Network is a coalition of over 70 women-led associations. All the associations are led by women and their members are women. So between those 70 associations, they have close to 4 million women that are their members. And so we're saying, because you belong to this coalition, let's have a mentoring hub that begins to guide and support and pull up women. So which means if you want to go into honey production and there's somebody already doing honey and is doing well, we will attach you to that person and say, go and understudy what that person is doing the next 2 weeks. Watch how it is being done. So because it has been done at the level of coalition and support, because we know each other, it's easier to trust because we you know, in fact, this honey one I use in giving an example happened recently. You know, a friend came to me and said, you do lovely honey. I said, I don't see your honey anywhere. Where are you doing it? He said he doesn't know how to package it, how to label it. So I called one of the leading honey makers in Abuja, Air and Shine. Immediately I said, Air and Shine, there's a woman here that wants to learn how to do honey, package it, whatever, and all that. Can you just hold her hands for 1 month? Let's see what she can do. She said, oh, why not? Because it came from me, a trusted person. You understand? So we have to be deliberate about mentoring, which is one of the things we're doing in the coalition, to see how women can help other women to grow. Because you see, the sky is large enough for everybody that the birds will not collide. Well, if birds don't collide, you won't collide. We have over 200 million population, so to say, to feed. So there's no way that you only one individual can do all. So it's important that we open up the space through deliberate mentoring and hand-holding to make it happen. But it can't happen if you don't belong to a network where you are trusted. And you know, you can't wake up now and go and meet somebody and say, hi, you are doing this. I'm also doing this. So he say, really? Fine. He won't answer you because you are what he sees is a competition.
Exactly.
But when I bring as a coalition member and they know that this is part of our processes, he doesn't see a competition. He sees the fact that this is a mentee I need to raise to help. And I remember when I spoke to one of the big women businesses in Nigeria, I wanted her to come and speak at our conference. Share with us, how did you get here as a woman? So she said, you truly want to know? I said, yes. He said, it was through the help of men, not women. He said, in fact, the first time I wanted to have women high up in the hierarchy, they backstabbed me and betrayed me. You know, they went back to go and do this, they went back to go and do that. And so since then, she decided she will deal with men alone. It's easier for her than anything. So we need to begin to break and change that narrative and show that you show me how to do something does not mean I'm going to take food out of your mouth. There's space enough to do better. It's even better to have an ecosystem where you are bringing people together of like minds and you're like the boss, making sure it happens for them. I run a school. I'm an educationist. I also consult and I coach schools. I have a network of over 500 schools I work with. And whatever I do, I'm sharing with them. Because if your school does well and my school does well, it means we're producing fantastic children for the society. That's what it means. I can't take all the children in Abuja or in Nigeria. So if I hoard anything and don't make you be a better person, then there's nothing. And then we're telling women, what is your legacy in the business in which you are doing? So you are known for this. You are the best educationist. You are the best honey, whatever. What is your legacy? How many women have you raised in life? So as you begin to change mindsets and put deliberate things in, it begins to change, it begins to cascade, and you begin to see the changes.
Okay, I understand you said you are in a coalition that tends to help. But do you think that there is this enabling environment? Because I understand that no matter how you are in the midst of a network, you are networking, you're in the midst of coalitions and the rest. If there's no enabling environment, it won't work. So do you think the government is doing enough when it comes to enabling women to do business?
It's not even enabling women. It's even enabling everybody. Because when there's no power, it's not only women that suffer no power. It's everybody, you know. And those are the issues. Now, what we also do as a coalition, we have what is called the Women Business Agenda. That Women Business Agenda, through research, we identify like 3, 4, 5 priorities that we think, if it is well tackled, will make a huge difference in our lives and our businesses. Then we begin to use advocacy, negotiation, and lobbying to meet with the relevant stakeholders. So like the last Women Business Agenda, we had the issue of power. We had the issue of poor road infrastructure, because a lot of our women are farmers. They can't get their goods to anywhere to sell because there are no roads. And so all your tomatoes will get rotten. All your potatoes will get rotten. How many people are going to go into the village to buy them? So we looked at access to finance. We looked at inclusiveness in government. And we said these were the challenges that were, and then multiple taxation. And we now said, how do we begin to address some of these things? What should we begin to do? We looked at access to finance, for example. We said, look, as women, we must see how collateral is the major issue for many women. They don't have collateral. And so we partnered with Federal Mortgage Bank and said, can you make it possible for us to have affordable housing that we can pay over 10 years, which gives every woman a house, if nothing else? They agreed. So that is going on. So which means you will have a house. Which means if you need a collateral, you have a collateral to put down. That is a huge difference in your business. And that only happens through the power of negotiation, advocacy, and lobbying, because we're a coalition. On your own, you can't walk in and get some of those things. It will take the power of collaboration and togetherness to make it happen. So those are the things we are promoting. On your own, you can't go far. Find the right network and see what value they offer, and see if you can pick from that value and then move on with it. Those are the issues.
I think I really wish it's as simple as you say it. Like most of these things they are talking about is really,
it will take time.
It's the truth actually, but
because
it
I
will
don't
take
understand
time.
that sometimes, except the coalitions identify you, when you tend to reach out to these coalitions, there are a lot of processes to it.
No, you know, the coalition is just a body housing organizations. So in the coalition, you have business and professional women, you have African Women Entrepreneurship Program, you have NECA, New NECA, you have WIMBIS, you have WEDPIN, you know, it's a coalition of different associations. Those different associations, they have their strengths. So. Like AWEP is focused on export. If you want to produce anything to sell out of Nigeria, especially in America, AWEP is where you belong to. Then you have those that are, it is farming. We have she farmers. She farmers, if you want to be a farmer to produce in large quantity, that is where you, so there are different things. WIMBIS is positioned for those for boards and management. That is where you want to belong to. Is at that rate you want to be and all that. So you will find where your values are, and it is that association you join. As a coalition, we just bring all of them together to be able to use those numbers to get better opportunities for them. That is what we will do through advocacy, through lobbying, through making sure that we can go to a bank to say, look, we have 4 million members. Can they have access to a certain amount every year to take their businesses forward? Who doesn't want numbers and business? You understand? So if you go to a bank now and said, I need 5 million, you'll be doing story back and forth. If I take 1 million women and they know the interest rate and what will come back to them, they will listen. So we're just saying, let's collaborate more so that we can get bigger and do better.
Okay.
You know.
So we should collaborate more. Something for me that I've picked up from what you have said is that what is your legacy? You say you are in this particular field. Who have you trained? Who have you brought up? Because sincerely, even we that are talking about people, women are not supporting women. If we start in our own little way, supporting the women around us, I think it will help to build a better community. So women, please learn to help each other. And please, it is important to be financially stable, anyhow you want to run it. Legally, it is important for you to be financially stable.
Oh, not to marry a rich man.
Exactly my thoughts.
Go ahead, just go on.
Okay, it's not just about having a rich husband, not just, it can be part of it though, but it's not about having a rich husband. Victoria asked me a question and she said, should you marry someone that does not have, that is not working? Please, in my very sincere answer, don't marry anybody that does not have a job. The person must be doing something. If it's a bricklayer, let him start. If it's packing block, let him start packing block.
Can you marry a bricklayer?
So as I was saying, if he's packing block, let him start packing block. But please don't marry a lazy man. Know that don't marry a lazy man. No matter how little what he's doing, he's an electrician. No, he has the potential. He's doing something. He's bringing his 1 naira to the home. But don't sit at home with a man that doesn't have a job, saying the Lord will help us. The Lord will do something for us. The Lord blesses the works of your hands. If you don't have anything in your hand, it won't be blessed.
Nothing to bless.
So don't marry a lazy person. And please, let's do well to support our fellow women. Enough of the backstabbing, betrayal, and stuff like that. Let's do well to support the female gender. That's what we can take on today's episode of Engendered. Do well to join us another time for an interesting episode. I remain Chidinma Ufomadu.
Well, I am Victoria Agbi. I'm sure you had an interesting time with us here on Engendered. Until next time. Bye.
Thank you.